Thank you for joining us in another episode of A Letter To, where we discuss matters of the heart. And today is no different. We're here to discuss a matter of the heart, and we have a wonderful guest today. And before we get started, we're both rocking the hats today, right? We both having a little bell for a day. And I just feel so good when I saw her come in. I was like, you know what? We on one accord. This is gonna work out real good. Stuff, she rocking a real cute head. This time for an upgrade, y'all. Time for an upgrade. But anyway, I just like to make my guests feel comfortable. The little sit
Come on,
come out. Okay. So anyway, we have a special guest today who is here to discuss a matter of her heart. And I want my special guest to introduce herself, and you are.
I am Carla Seaworth.
Okay.
I am married to Shelton Seaworth, one of your previous guests.
Yes,
So
yes.
you interviewed the best one first, so we just go with it.
We don't do best and
You
stuff
know,
here. We don't do first place, second place.
he's a professional. So
yeah.
so just the intro about me, I am a wife.
Okay.
I'm a mother. I have a unique family. I have a blended family. So
okay.
I have all boys and all boys. And I have 3 bonus babies, and then I have 2, and then we have one that's just my child, and then one that's our love child. So we're a blended family.
Blended. She
blended.
boy mama.
Yes, I'm a boy mom.
Okay.
And so most of our kids are grown.
Okay.
We got one that's 17. He's almost out the door. So
yeah, y'all about to be empty nesters around there. Ooh-wee.
Looking forward to it.
I know.
I mean, we got married. I'm a second wife, so when we got married, we had kids. So I want to know what it's like to
not
have a baby sitting on my lap, So
or to have to babysit. Yeah.
That's
all
it.
the things.
All the things. So
yeah, beautiful. Boy mom. I wanted to be a boy mom, but anyway, don't have any kids, so here we go. But okay, so we're here today to discuss a matter of your heart. And I'm so glad she came on the podcast. When we were talking, she came to the production. I Want My Daddy.
Yes.
We ended up talking. Why? She came to both shows. Come on, support now. Support. I love it. But she came to both shows, and I was talking with her husband. Like she said, he has done an interview. You guys haven't seen it yet, but you'll be on the lookout for it. But he did a great job on his interview as well. But just talking with him, I found out, that he didn't know his father growing up. And so I was trying to encourage her to get him to come on. And then I found out some things about her. I was like, you know what? You need to come on too. So
she lured me in.
She said no at first. Let's go and be honest. She was like, no, I ain't gonna be able to do that. I was like, okay. But then she ended up texting me and was like, yeah, the Lord said I gotta do it.
Lord said I gotta do it.
So here we are.
Yes.
So, okay, Carla. So tell us a little bit about growing up. Tell us a little bit about your situation.
Okay, so growing up, I'm the oldest of 3 biological siblings. Okay. So I have a 4th sibling. She's our bonus sister. She's my stepsister. Mm-hmm. But I'm the oldest. Pretty much, I think that if I could describe my childhood, is my mother, who is my ace. We best friends,
Okay.
But she tried to give us a very natural, it was lots of things as a kid, like, you don't know you poor. You know what I mean? She was creative. Yeah. Where you didn't know that wasn't normal.
This was going on. Yeah.
But she tried to give us a very natural upbringing. Mm-hmm. So, but I am the oldest, like I stated. Right. And so my parents were teenagers. And so my mom likes to say I went to prom twice, but my parents were teenagers. Okay. And my mother's side of the family, she has lots of siblings. Mm-hmm. So it's like 13 of them. It's a bunch of them. Yeah. Then my dad, they weren't a small family. They had about 7. It was like about 7. But my mother's closest to the older of her siblings. My dad was the baby.
Oh, he was the baby. Okay.
And so I think my grandmother had my father a little bit later in life. So he was that spoiled,
Oh, he was ruined.
Yeah, he was good looking. He was my daddy was very handsome. My mother ain't shabby now,
Yeah, I got
you. So he was just kind of I would say just kind of a little bit entitled. He was that jock in high school, you know, had the fast cars, you know. My mother was a church girl.
Okay.
My mother was in a choir. She ran track. A little bit of a tomboy, honestly. You know, she played basketball. You know, she did all the things. Yes. And so just a very natural beauty. My dad was like rah, 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 loud. My mom was more, she was more, she's more reserved. If she can go there if you pull it out of her, but her day to day, she's just not that type of person. So growing up with that dichotomy in our family, my mother really was the glue because my dad really was, he was wild. He was just, you know, he just was into being into the streets. Right. He really didn't have to. They didn't come from what we considered like a poverty background. Okay. You know what I mean? Okay. But he just loved being in the streets, and you know, and so I grew up, like I say, I grew up where my mom tried to shelter a lot of what was going on. So I'm listening to you talk, and we talked in several interviews that everybody doesn't get to have like a two-person household. Mm-hmm. And so, but also I learned just even in the fact that even if some people have a two-person household, sometimes if the father is there but not really present, correct, it's still like you're growing up without your father because you're not getting all the teachings, all the, you know, the or for girls how a man is supposed to treat a woman, you know, or just seeing it being done to my mom. So this is how I know what to expect. Correct. So so I'm glad to know that we get to hear it from another angle because I've had guests on that just, you know, didn't know their father. I've met people that didn't know their dad, or met their dad later in life. But I've heard, I even have a best friend that was saying, you know, to be in the home with the dad and him not really being present. Correct. It's a real thing. It really is. And so so to have him there in his presence, he's there, but not really there. Could you, let's just back it up a little bit and go back to the production. I Want My Daddy. Okay. And Cole, the guy that was the dad to the young lady, and then we flipped it and we made him have a son. Correct. Notice how he was in the home, but he wasn't really present. So is that kind of like mimicking what happened with you growing up a little? I would say yes. So my dad was, um, he was so used to being like, kind of like the cool, you know, I can't really express. He was used to being the cool guy. So I mean, he used to probably be in gangs. My dad used to fight. He used to do a lot of. He was very strong, like a lot of, like, you know, tough. Yeah. And so he spent a lot of time being in the streets, being out at night. So much of our childhood, though, ironically, though, we would want him to be gone because when he was there, we didn't know which version we were gonna get. And so because he was very abusive and, you know, substance abuse and all these different things, you just didn't know what version was going to show up, you know. So it was peaceful. It was peaceful. It was like we would have fun. My mom played with us. We went to the park. We would jump rope. You know, she was just like, she was a stay-at-home mom for most of my childhood. So he was responsible for being a breadwinner and things of that nature. And so, you know, she did all the things. We baked cookies. We, you know, we did all the fun stuff. But when he would come, but when he would come, it would disrupt all of that. You know what I mean? So he was more of a disruption. Yeah. Okay. It was more of a disruption. And I think that I think my mother's design in parenting, because she was a first time mom, you know, so the notion that parents know how to do it is not true. It was her first time being a mother. Yeah. So she had siblings and she was used to taking care of them, but having her own child. Right. So she would pray over me because she didn't want me to have memories of all of what I got to see. So I'm the oldest. The next sibling is not for 4 years. Okay. So and then my brother, we're 9 years apart. So wow. So she didn't want me to have the memories. But the crazy thing about my mom is that she talked to me very early. So even though she didn't really want me to have the memory, she gave me understanding of what was going on. Yes. Because that was about to be my question. Yeah. My first question to you was, even though she tried to protect you from what was going on in the house,
and try to wipe your memory away, do you have memories of things that happened when you were younger?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so seeing that as a child, I'm not sure what form of abuse, sorry, that you saw, but seeing that as a child, can you recollect how young you were when you first actually experienced another side of him that you were like, "Oh, please put the boogeyman away"?
So I really didn't like him to begin with. So
Oh wow.
being his voice, just being an infant, my mom said he would just be talking and I would just cry because he was just raw, he just had that stern voice.
Right.
He could be laughing, he could have been, I don't know what he was doing, but I had natural fear. So probably about maybe 4 or 5 is when it all started to kind of come into view for me. So my earliest memories are somewhere in there.
And so that made you even more afraid of him. I mean, you were an infant,
yeah,
hearing his voice, that made you afraid. But at 4, to see that side of him, that embedded some even more fear, I'm sure.
And keep in mind, I don't know him. He is my father, but he's not present. So my mother, we got the different experience from my mother. I know my mom's favorite foods. I know what she don't like, what she do like. I know what will make her calm. Like we didn't get that from.
So sounds like he was basically a stranger in the home.
We didn't get to know him, and anytime, even later in life, when I would try to have a relationship with him, it was distant. So that was one of the things that was, when I look back as a child, I didn't really know how to approach my father. So my father loved boxing. He loved sports. Mm-hmm. He was an avid reader. He loved he loved all things sci-fi. Like he was a genius. Mm-hmm. Now I can say that with much healing now.
Okay.
Because I used to wouldn't give him any credit. I wouldn't give him any credit.
Right.
But I can now look at the things that my dad was really good at. The thing about it is though, I don't toggle with it so much, but I feel like he didn't know how to have a daughter.
Okay.
So everything, and I didn't know how to be a daughter because everything he did was very rough. So I tried to mimic boy stuff.
So when you say everything that he did was rough, do you mean like because he played sports, he was a jock, or just
he just didn't have
him
soft?
Being rough?
Yeah, he just didn't have soft skills. Now, weird enough, my dad never really spanked us. He knew to have restriction as far as he never spanked us. But my first bike he ever bought me was a boy's bike.
Okay.
He used to work for the steel mill, so he would say, come ride with me while we go to the steel mill. No hard hat, no protective gear. I'm a little kid. Like that doesn't sound like something you would take your daughter. Right. And so, and then my mom was quite the opposite. My mom would put me with the little lace socks, with the little cute little sweaters, the 100 little ponytails, so she was like the feminine soft side. And, he was this real harsh, but I didn't know how to please him because I didn't know him. So it was just
can you think of any time, because I know you were very standoffish because like you said, it was more peace when he wasn't in the home. But as you got older, maybe teenage years, did you at any point try to, because daddies, well, in my mind's eye, and not growing up with my dad and not meeting him till I was 18, we have that yearning to have that relationship with a father. So as you got older and you probably had friends that had relationships with their dad, did you try to like, daddy, can we do something? Or daddy, will you help me with this?
Oh yeah. I mean, 100%. I think that by the time I was a teenager, they got a divorce when I was 16.
Okay.
And so by that time, much more violence occurred, and it was just a very unhealthy, toxic situation. So my mother had left him a lot of times in my childhood. Okay. But back in the day, when you don't have work history, and you got 3 kids, who's gonna take, who's gonna, so so we moved to California for a bit. And then he moved here to Texas. So that's how we got to Texas. And he did the whole bit, I want to make it right, blah, 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 So then we came Here,
right,
he was worse off.
he was worse in Texas.
By this time, he was into more substance abuse.
Okay.
And so it just wouldn't work out. So being the resilient person my mom is, I'm 12. I'm about 12 around this time.
Okay.
So she's like, I brought my kids here. I got to make a life for them, you know?
Right,
And so she
right.
started trying to make that happen. But as she was trying to make a life, he was on the decline. So it got to real bad where he was into heavy things. And then he eventually was homeless.
Oh
So
wow.
once he got to that level, and I got to about 16, 17, somewhere in that age is when I was the only connection. So I was the only one who was still trying to pursue a relationship with him.
So you were at trying to pursue a
Yeah,
relationship.
this is one point I was. There's
Okay.
points where I went. They call it no contact now, but it was just you just don't talk to them. So this was at a point where I was pursuing a relationship, and so I would go. You know, I would find him. I'll go out, take him blankets and shoes, and
Right.
feed him. Take care of him. But he just wasn't showing any improvement. So when I had my first son, he wanted to be a part of my first son's life.
So before we go to your son and him being a part, okay, so he wasn't good with girls, but you had brothers.
I had one brother,
You had
yes.
one
One brother
brother.
that's a
So men typically sometimes favor their sons.
he do. He did.
Okay,
He did.
so he did try to have a relationship with your brother.
So the thing about it was, he wanted to, but because of his living circumstances, because my
Okay.
brother were 9 years apart, we
Right.
shielded him from a lot of that.
Oh, yeah, I didn't
So
want him to see that. Y'all
correct.
covered
I
him.
didn't
Yeah.
want my siblings to go through what that older sibling is the protector of all.
Right, of course, of course.
So I didn't want them to ever experience what I experienced.
Yes.
So we kept. I have a middle sister, and then I have my baby brother, and we shielded them from that.
Mhm.
But he did. I mean, he could see my brother, and he just started weeping. He was very
Oh.
fond of him, but he just didn't know. I don't think it had anything to do with gender. He just wasn't available to be a good parent.
Okay,
If that makes sense.
so okay, let's talk about this bag up one more time.
Mm-hmm.
So before, was he like always that way, even without the substance abuse? Because a lot of times when people are, into drugs or
Yeah.
alcohol, if they don't know how to handle it, it turns them into another person, and hence the abuse,
Yeah.
and hence
Yeah.
the whole another person that you didn't even know existed comes forth.
Yes.
But before, because I know you were talking, you said like he was always.
Mm.
So was he before the substance abuse began? Was he that bad?
My dad used all of my life. So I don't have a memory of him not. Correct.
Okay,
And
okay.
he
makes
did
sense.
alcohol and he did drugs.
Okay,
So
okay. Makes sense.
I don't know if they were at the same time. I don't know how it went, but
Okay.
I know that it gradually throughout my life it increased.
But
So
how did that make you? How did it make you feel growing up without the presence of your father? I mean, like the actual presence of him. I know you as the older sister, you had to be a protector and you had to cover, but there's still a little child inside of you,
correct,
that longed for that relationship and
of
longed for
course.
that father. So how were you able to cope? Did you cope? I mean, did you just hide it and you meshed it down and didn't deal with it? Talk about that part of you.
It was extreme embarrassment. So I learned
Okay.
how to and I'm not sure, I always thought that it was a part of my personality to be in the background. But
Okay.
it could be a training because for as long as I can remember, I've had to be in the background. So it's not just about protection, it's just in our culture, in our African American culture,
Let's
is
talk about
what
it.
happens inside the home stays
Stays in the
inside.
home.
Correct. And
Yes.
so it wasn't we come from a small town. So
Okay.
it wasn't like um for anyone to say, "Oh, he was on drugs." Oh my God, no! People in our neighbors knew,
Okay.
and
'Cause
our
it was a
neighbors.
small town.
He physically assaulted my mom in front of people, so it wasn't like people didn't see him doing things or know
Right.
what he was about.
Right.
So for me, it was just embarrassment because I witnessed it, but other people witnessed this behavior too. And the behavior would just be so, it would just be so wild, like anger, like you rage, like you wouldn't believe, and then be extremely remorseful. So that type of abuse is wild work. You know what I mean? It's just wild. Like, how did you turn to Incredible Hulk? And then, after you've shrunk back the size, now you're tucked tail. I'm so sorry, but it doesn't take away all the damage that my dad did. It never, he was the sorriest man that I can say on the planet. He would say sorry after, but he never had changed behavior with it.
Right.
So I learned how to hoard, keep stuff in, keep it together, So I grew up really fast. And again, I'm careful to not bash my mom because she was everything to us, but she was in it and she has her own side or her own point of view, about how that looks. But as a mother, I'm sure she was like, "Hey, you could do this to me, but you're not gonna do correct."
So she covered y'all to make sure you
She
guys
did.
didn't experience it.
Yeah, and he wasn't violent towards us, not by force, but mouth, things like that, like just would say harsh things to you, like I remember one thing that stuck for me as a teenager is you're the weakest of all your siblings, and it would just be this berating, like once him and my mother weren't together anymore and he couldn't really attack her,
he attacked you.
Correct. And so,
and that had to mess with your self-esteem. That had to that's like probably the worst form of abuse. I mean, physical abuse is bad.
That's right.
Verbal abuse attacks your attacks your character, attacks your confidence.
Correct.
So yeah.
And he never could be, so he just really never showed any appreciation for me. He never got to see any accomplishments. He never got to be present for all the things that matter to me. I know you've been taking me back and I've been jumping forward, but
she's been jumping forward. I'm gonna let her drive and I'm just gonna try to control the wheel every now and then.
when I got married, my husband was saying, hey, if you want, he knows all my ugly, but he said, if you want your dad to be a part of the ceremony, I'm all right with that. But I declined. I said, I don't want him to be there for this. Because it was the one thing in my life, which I'm gonna tear up, but it was the one moment in my life that was just for me. Yeah. And I thought, having you there, you're gonna ruin it. You're gonna do something. You ain't gonna come with your tux on. You're gonna do something. And it was our day, So much of my life had already been consumed up to that point. Yes. And so, when you get married, you're bringing all your baggage. That's not really that's not what I was trying to show up with. He had already seen it in its full form, but and I had already expressed to him, through my childhood trauma, but to have it in that space, I was just like, I choose. Yeah. He don't got to turn me down. He don't got to not show up.
It was your choice.
Yes,
but he just tried to offer that to you.
Yes.
So yeah. Yes. Oh, such a wonderful husband. Yeah. But I understand if he has embarrassed you like your whole teenage life, and then like you said, the way he berated you and belittled you, and you just didn't need that. Not that day.
And you don't really know when you don't have certain things, you imagine what it would be like. So I imagine what it would be like to have a father figure, and he didn't ever fit in that box.
So your whole idea of what a father would be like, he did not fit into that.
No.
That's what I'm saying. I think as children, we do have an idea, a fantasy of what we think the ideal person, whether it's a father, husband, boyfriend, whatever. We have this idea of what it should be, and a lot of it maybe comes from TV or whatever. A father knows this. Bill Cosby. I mean, before, anyway, but we get a lot of formation or ideas, from what we see on TV, or even something like even your relatives that do have two parent home. You get an idea. Oh, I wish my daddy would pick me up like that. So we do have this idea, But knowing that, you had this idea and this is what you wanted, but this is what you got stuck with.
Right.
And then you were in high school, you were 16, and then I think you said mom left it. Did mom leave at 16?
She left a little bit. She left a little bit before, but when they finally finalized the divorce, I was 16 years old.
So when did you have your resolve that? Because I know you tried to, you wanted him to be that dad, but when did you like resolve that? Hey, this is how he is, and whatever.
I was super grown. I don't know what age, but it was a process because,
Right.
again, that relationship with him was morphing me into different things. And I know it's not churchy to say
We're not thinking
you're
about that
being,
right now. We're
but you
not thinking
being,
about that right
but you
now.
being angry with God. That's not something that people, I feel, are honest about. But I felt robbed
Yes.
in the father department.
Yes.
So that part of it, I was angry with him,
Yes.
with God for so long, because it's like, I even asked family members, like I asked cousins and brothers, like, how did y'all get that dad and I got, like I asked his brothers, like, how
Yeah.
did this,
how did he turn out to be this
yeah,
good? And then
like when y'all shuffled it up and dealt it out, like why did this person have to be, I mean, super embarrassing. Showing up to family functions, um, hi, been out all night doing Lord knows what, and just being so to the point where I'm in tears because it's
like,
just
why did you even show
just so
up?
embarrassing. Like you
Yeah.
can't even, it's not where you could just hide behind, he's just loud,
And then everybody
invisible.
know that this is my daddy.
That's my daddy.
Yeah.
He belongs to me, and so being upset with God was the first part of that journey, was just why me, why did I have to have, take view to abuse. And I mean, girl, he also, I mean, going back because I'm jumping around, that's just the way my brain worked.
Yeah.
But he would get messed up and have seizures, and we got to break into our own house because you won't let us in,
Because he
or
was having a seizure at the time.
and
Yeah.
not it's because of substance abuse. It was killing them. It was tearing them down.
Right.
And so, so seeing all this as a kid, and again, the African American culture is we don't talk about this kind of stuff. So
I had this same conversation with another person that I interviewed. Her interview was basically saying like we were raised to like almost to just be quiet and don't
right,
say anything. What happens in the home stays in the home, having no idea how it really cripples the child
right,
because they lose their voice
right,
and they don't have the power to speak against something. So even something as far as like even sexual abuse, they're quiet because you said don't talk.
right,
Basically, leave me alone. Go stay in the child's place. All of these innuendos or all these little cliches that
right,
we had growing up in the African American home. So yeah, I do. I can agree with
right.
you on that. And even about the angry with God part,
Mm,
that's just something Christians say because I believe, first of all, God knows us.
correct.
Here I go again, messing this mic up. I'm working on it, y'all. I use my hands a lot. Okay, but if we have a relationship, God is our daddy.
Right.
So if we have a relationship with our Father, I feel like I can ask Him, or I can be mad at Him as long as I choose to continue to serve Him. Because when I had a loss, I was angry with God.
I understand.
And I told them, and I'm like, I'm mad, and I'm not gonna ask him for nothing. My mom
Right.
was like, you just gotta pray. You just gotta ask God for strength. I'm not asking him for no strength. I'm mad at him right now.
Right.
So I was hot.
Mm-hmm.
But and he even says in his word, be angry and sin not. So he didn't say we couldn't be angry.
Right. Right.
So after maybe a few weeks, I did. I think the day of the funeral, I could just feel his presence, and I just said, okay, God,
Right.
I'll take your strength.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, but I think I said all that to say you had every right to be
Right.
angry, but then also he could have been shielding you. You didn't experience it as bad. Mama shielded you a lot from the physical abuse,
Right.
but the verbal
And mental, because I'm a girl. So, this is a household where I'm being treated as a male. I'm the oldest, but I'm not a male. I'm still I had no place to be dainty and soft.
You're a
and
girly girl. Yeah.
I'm a girly girl. And so I didn't have that space to do.
What's his relationship like with his father? It's not an excuse, but I'm asking. What was his relationship like with his father?
My grandfather was like a witty man, funny, jovial, happy. To him, my grandfather seemed like he loved my dad, but I just feel like my dad kind of would run over him. You know, he didn't see. Grandfather would talk to him. He don't want to hear what he got to say. You know. He ended up getting into a bit of a serious accident. He had a girlfriend that ran him over, and I know it's not nice to say, but I'm sure that mouth got him in trouble. And you know, she